What we're saying is that with every different kind of brokerage, there's a different level of service. And what we strive to be is, I'll just put the best. And how do you know that if you're the best at what you do? Like what's...
They'll tell you.
Okay, so they tell us. How would they tell us?
They tell you you're the best realtor I've ever had.
Ratings.
Okay, yeah. So in
Reviews.
So they could say it to your face. You're awesome, Carol. Love you.
Yeah.
They could text it to you, or they could. What we would really appreciate is a review. They could tell the world. So this is you. This is like the world. Like this is everybody. We'd much rather have them tell us. And what kind of rating would that be?
Zillow, Google.
Star. We would want a 5-star review. And so that's sometimes what we say. We want to provide you a 5-star experience. Because what's a 2-star hotel versus a 5-star?
About $300.
But let's admit, if money, but let's put it this way: if money were no object, we'd all stay at 5 stars. Like,
yeah.
If you were all of a sudden, bam, Conan's a billionaire, would you ever stay at a Motel 6? Absolutely not. Okay? Absolutely not. I don't care what people say. If some people tell me, well, I still would never stay there, just give it 6 months and then you would. Because you'd be it's like let's say Jeff Bezos here. That's who that is. He's the richest man in the world now, worth $150 billion.
What does he do? That's it?
He's the CEO of Amazon.com.
Really?
Also, what's his space company called? Blue X or
I don't know.
SpaceX is Tesla's Elon Musk space company, but he also owns a space company. He also bought Wholesale Foods, and he owns the Washington Post News. So he owns all those things under the umbrella of Amazon. And also they have Amazon Web Services, which is a platform that about half the internet sites are on now. Like they use their servers to host their websites. And they're the #1 retail business in the world. But it's so you know you're the best because they tell you did a great job. They review you, and what's that next?
They give you more referrals.
So that's the ultimate trust. No, really, you did an awesome job. I'm going to tell all my friends about it. I'm going to tell them all. I love you. You're awesome.
That's why you should have magnets with your basement.
Yes.
So because business cards, they get lost.
That's a good idea. So what we want to go through right now, well, let me show you Jeff Bezos here and a comment he made, and then we're going to go through we're going to talk about what service means to us, customer service. Okay? But I want to kind of get your mind going with this. He's being interviewed right now, and he's been talking about his philanthropy with, I forget what it was called, but they're helping kids in school. But he's going to transition into this and then he's going to tell his #1 reason why he thinks Amazon succeeded. So, now we kind of know Amazon. Remember, it started as a bookstore, but quickly expanded into everything. So,
Customer service.
And that's what we'll do with this day one foundation too. And the customer is going to be the child. This is so important because the secret sauce of Amazon, where there are several principles of Amazon, but the #1 thing that has made us successful by far is obsessive, compulsive focus on the customer as opposed to obsession over the competitor. And I talk so often to other CEOs and some other CEOs and also founders and entrepreneurs, and I can tell that even though they're talking about customers, they're really focusing on competitors. And it is a huge advantage to any company if you can stay focused on your customer instead of your competitor. So then you have to identify who is your customer. So at the Washington Post, for example, is the customer the people who buy advertisements from us? No, the customer is the reader. And in the school, who are the customers? Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? No, it is the child. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be obsessively, compulsively focused on the child. We're going to be scientific when we can be, and we're going to use heart and intuition when we need to.
When you use your...
He changes the topic. What was his number one reason for success?
Compulsive obsession about customers, not the competitors.
Obsessed with the customer, with providing good customer service.
I don't even know how to spell it. C-S-S?
SS. Compulsive.
Compulsive. What?
Obsession.
Obsession. About who?
Customer,
The customer.
not the competition. So don't focus on your competition and what they're doing, but you focus on the customer and what they need.
Okay.
Focus on what you're
So,
doing.
yeah, too many do the obsessive, compulsive obsession about
Competition.
the competition, what they're doing. An example of that he gave was Barnes & Noble. Amazon started selling books. 2 years later, Barnes & Noble started selling books. Amazon came out with the Kindle. 2 years later, Barnes & Noble came out with the Nook. And it was always like 2 years later, Barnes & Noble kind of just was following Amazon. And ultimately, they went out of business. Why? Because they weren't looking at what did the customer want. They were looking at what's everyone else doing? What's everyone else doing? You know, I need to do this, as opposed to just following really what the customer needed and wanted. Okay, so who is our customer? First, we have to identify who that is.
The sellers or the buyers.
Yeah, so our customers are buyers and sellers. Okay. And here's let's
What do they want?
just
They
talk
want a
about
house.
what do they want.
Buyers want a house.
They want a house. But let's get a little more granular. What do they want
They
in
might
the
need
house?
help.
They
They need help.
They need help,
They need a guide.
a knowledgeable guide.
Make the process easy,
But why do they want that? What are they trying to prevent too?
making a mistake.
Yeah, we talked about that before. They don't want to make a mistake. That's their biggest fear. We talked about, I don't know if you guys remember any of that, but their biggest fear, oh, sorry, I said make mistake, and that's their fear, which is, and the mistake would be
Like pay too much or
we
do something
paid
wrong.
too much, and it was the wrong house would be the worst. Not really happy with the house, or
Buyer's remorse.
yeah, some sort of remorse. There's also one other thing is, man, we got the house, but freak, that was painful. Like the process was painful. So along with this, there comes stress. Like that's why, what Gabby, what you pointed out is, why is there so much stress in this business?
Because it's the biggest purchase of their life.
Yeah, because it's transferred to us. It's our buyers and sellers stressing out over this thing we call buying a home or selling a home.
And because it's a home,
I think the point is
personal
that
and
you
it's
don't want them
emotional.
to stress out, so you take it all in.
Yeah.
You take the stress.
I legitimately worry. I'm like, oh man, I know this person needs to sell their house, and I'm scratching my head on how to do that. Or sometimes they stress me out because I know we need a price reduction and they're resistant, and I know if they don't do it, then I don't make any money and I've just wasted money. There's different levels or reasons for stress. But our stress should be always focused on their needs, not me. Like when I said, oh, if I don't sell this, I'm not gonna make any money. It's thinking about me. That's the wrong thing. And you say, oh man, if I can't find the Joneses a house, they're not going to make it to school this year. And if their kids don't start school, they're not going to have friends.
It snowballs. But it's funny, just even with clients, there's some who go down this rabbit hole, and you have to kind of bring them back. And we always have to be the calm in the storm, and that does take extra stress, because sometimes you want to panic too. Like, we're supposed to be closing in 5 days, and the underwriter said, oh, guess what, your buyer doesn't qualify and you need a cosigner, and you're like, what? Like, earnest money is like gone. We're like,
Well,
So
the
we're-
funny thing too is that if you take it all in and you make it so smooth for them, it's like,
why did I need you again?
I know, why did I need you? This
Okay.
is so easy.
Well, well, I think there's solutions for that. Let's chat
That's
about
why
it.
I tell them every little thing I do.
Before this, is there any other thing that they want from you?
I think they want just to feel safe.
They need affirmations, like confirmation that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, let me put confirmation.
So a lot of times I pass out those things. You guys, you're doing, not too many young people can actually buy a house like this. Think how much wealth you're gonna, you're establishing, just
So-
all the positives. You love this house. Look at the area. You remember how you like the pool and blah, blah, blah.
Part of there's kind of the three things: help, guidance, confirmation is all the part of this idea of communication. That they need to know what's going on is happening at the time.
Even if nothing's happening, you still need to let them know that nothing's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you were to close and they said, "Man, you didn't earn your money. This was so cakewalk for you," I would say that's your fault as an agent. That's your fault. You didn't tell them what happened, what was happening, what you did, what you didn't do,
Yeah.
what you avoided.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because
it's like, what if the Titanic did avoid the
iceberg?
the iceberg and no one knew about it? Well, that's great that no one died, but at the same time, there's no story, right? There's no storyline. There's no But if you said, "Oh my gosh, iceberg coming," because I'm actually watching iceberg coming. We need to do this immediately, and then
Move out of the way and
they
everyone's safe.
they moved and you saved everybody, and then you said, "Isn't this great? We didn't die in cold water." Yeah, that's awesome. So
So glad I had you.
communication is key, and there's three things you always need to be communicating. Let me go over those because these are very, very important. Okay, so I'm going to put them in a different color. And one is past tense. It's you want to communicate what happened. Okay? So that means, all right, we just went through due diligence. You kind of recap it. Or, let's say right now, you got them under contract. So you would say, all right, we just got you under contract. We just got you this price. And, I was so happy that I was able to get you the closing costs. So you kind of say what happened and with that and, what you did.
Which was really good, because after talking with the guy for half an hour, they'd never accepted an offer without closing costs, but they accepted yours. Because I talked to him.
I don't think if you say it in the right way, it's going to come off as like you're an advertising board.
Yeah.
You're just going to say, I was so happy to be able to help you and get you the closing costs included into this. It was pretty crazy that I'm so excited because, and you guys should be too, because this guy had never accepted closing costs, and he'd received multiple offers. In fact, this was a multiple offer situation, and he accepted our offer over other people's offer because I had communicated to him, told him about you, and assured him how much you wanted this property. Because I did that, they were able to accept it. Right? That's a recap. You're recapping what you did, why it was special. You're reminding them what just happened. It's kind of like a lesson, when something dramatic happens and you're like, okay, kids, what did we learn from this?
And then they cancel 2 weeks later.
Okay, but that would have happened anyways. You can't control that. We're talking about what we can control. So what we did
How much you want to have
is
to
first.
cancel.
Okay, then we quickly transition our conversation into
What's next?
what we're doing now. Okay? All right, so now that we're under contract, this is what's happening right now. So whatever stage of the contract. So if it was just accepted. All right, Carol, this is awesome. So this is what's going to happen, and this is what you need to do. We have 2 weeks. What's going on now somewhat happens to, let me tie it in, is next steps or future steps. You know, what's going to happen.
Yeah, I always send out an email basically, congratulations, we're under contract, introduce Micah, and then our next steps. These are our next steps.
Okay, so when we're under contract, we say, okay, now that we're under contract, our next step is due diligence. Okay, and so I'm going to be forwarding you a form called the due diligence checklist, and I'd like to review this with you. I'd like you to read it, and I'd love to review it with you so you know all of your options concerning what is due diligence and how to make sure this house is good for you. Okay. And if it's not, what we're going to do before due diligence ends, now all of a sudden I'm talking in the future, if due diligence ends, our goal is if we find something wrong with the house is to either renegotiate or cancel the contract and find you a new home. Okay? So you have 2 weeks now to do this due diligence. And if they may ask you, well, what does due diligence require? And you say, well, most people start due diligence by hiring a home inspector to look at the house. And home inspector will check everything that's wrong with the house. It's like introducing a boyfriend to your parents. They're going to tell you everything that's wrong and everything to look out for, so that they just want to make sure that you're aware of who you're going to marry. Okay? That's the same thing what a home inspector does. They just want to make sure that you know. They're not going to tell you whether to buy or sell the house. They're just going to make sure you know what it is you are buying and the condition it is in, because we know that condition affects price. And if we think the condition is this, but if we happen to find out that the condition is this, we want to renegotiate. And that's what I'm going to do for you, okay? Okay, so again, the first thing you need to do right now is my transaction. There's somebody called Michael in. We call her Mike at the office. She's our transaction coordinator. She's going to be sending you an email that's going to recap all of these deadlines. Again, there's 3 deadlines that you need to be or 4 deadlines you need to be aware of. There's what's called seller disclosures. I actually already have those. I got those from you. It's where you disclose on the house, okay? If there's an HOA, we've already ordered the HOA documents and they should be here. We have to give those to them by name the date, by this next Tuesday, okay? The other thing is this, that's if it was a seller, I guess. We should be, then you would say we're going to be receiving these from the seller as part of your due diligence. So they're going to tell us about the property. So when I forward those to you, you'll know what they are. And if you forget, don't worry. I'll tell them again. Most likely I'll explain them every time. So secondly, there's the due diligence period, which is you got, let's say, 2 weeks to make sure this house is in good condition. And this is where you warn them, kind of like the iceberg. I know it may seem like you got a lot of time, but it could take a couple days to get an inspector there. It could take a day to get that back, and then a couple days to renegotiate. And getting things done on weekends is harder. So we want to make sure that we can get that done as soon as possible so that it gives us enough time to renegotiate if we need to. I think what happens is we don't tell them the future enough. We don't tell them what can happen if they don't get it done in time. So they don't do anything week 1. They get the inspection halfway through week 2, and on the deadline date, we're sending over a repair list at 4:00 of the deadline.
Exactly.
The sellers just have to ignore that for an hour and then say, sorry. Okay, but if we educate our clients, I think they'd be much more responsive to this. And get the due diligence signed after you get under contract. Don't do it before, because it doesn't mean anything before. It's just a paper that they won't read. You want to get it in that moment, but you have to get it signed. Okay, it's required. So that way we can go over it and talk about what's going on now, those items, review those items with them, what they mean and how they can protect themselves. And that will make you a guide in this process and will help reduce, Gabby?
Stress.
Stress. Estrés. Estrés. Help you reduce stress. I believe if you're always communicating what's going on, if you got to communicate on these 3 levels. Every time you talk to them, in your mind, think of this. Recap quickly what happened. Tell them where we are right now and why we're doing it now because of the future event that's coming up. Okay, we're working on due diligence because you have a deadline. And if you find out after the deadline that this house foundation is cracked, you're hosed. Okay? Or you'll lose your earnest money. Does that $1,000 mean something to you? Hope so. Well, it means something to me, and I want to protect you. You know, I do this because I want you to have the best experience. It's okay to also tell them your goal. You know, I want you to feel like you had a good experience. So if you ever don't feel like I'm communicating, or if you feel like you're not getting the information of, tell me if you need more phone calls from me. Tell me if you got enough and you need less. It's okay to ask your clients how often do they need to hear from you. But typically when you're under contract working with buyers, like daily would be just fine. I'm not kidding. Like
At least through the
probably
financial due diligence period.
yeah, probably at least twice a week would be a minimum. Minimum you would need to call
Well, you're
them.
doing that anyways because you have the inspection, and then you have the.
Well, right,
addendums
because you need to say, all right, let's talk about the inspection. The inspection comes back. All right, we got the inspection back. Tell me your thoughts. Well, I'm really worried about the water heater. It didn't have an earthquake strap on it.
Well, good thing we got that home
I'm
warranty
really
for
worried
you.
about the
We can
the
put that-
roof. The roof it says there's a lot of missing shingles.
Well, there's a couple options that we can do.
Okay, yeah. So you talk about the now, and then we talk about options, which is the future. Okay, what are our options? Well, we could ask for this. So let's go through this. Tell me, let's talk about what's important. Let's rank what's most important to you. There's what we call deal killers. And so you have that conversation. What are your deal killers? This roof's a deal killer because it's already shown, like the inspector showed us 4 areas in the house where there's signs of roof leaks. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's no bueno. So let's talk about that. Okay. And by you talking it through, always telling them, okay, so the inspector came, they went through the house. It probably helps even more if you tell them what the inspector's going to find. Okay, the inspector's sole purpose is to find everything that's wrong with this house. But it doesn't mean that the seller's going to fix everything. I just need to preference that. I'll ask her for whatever you want, but I just want you to have in your mind that it doesn't mean that the seller is willing to do it.
Mhm.
That's fine, then I'll just cancel. Okay, that's totally your prerogative, but I just, I'm here for you. And then I'll also tell you kind of their temperature. But also by saying that, especially if they have that attitude, well, if they don't do it, I'm just going to cancel, it actually could soften them up a little bit so they have a few days to think about that statement. Do I really like this house enough to cancel? Does an $800 water heater, is it a deal breaker for me, or can I just fix that? Okay, so let's just go through it. So in your communication, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to communicate. And what do you communicate? 3 things. Let's go over them.
What's
Recap.
happened?
What happened? It's the recap.
What we're doing now.
And specifically what you did for them.
Yeah.
Your role in it. Because if you don't remind them of your role, they come to the end and say, "That was so easy. You like, man, that's the easiest $6,000 you ever made." And you're like, "Well, I really don't get 6, and then after the government, I get like $500." No. But they don't care.
And all the 3 sleepless nights I stayed up.
They don't care about your sleepless nights. So what we want to do is quickly map out the process. So first part is lead. You get a lead, and then you have a conversation with the lead. What typically happens next?
You categorize them based on their timing.
Let's skip ahead a little bit, and we have an appointment.
Okay.
We have an appointment, and then hopefully they become a client from that. If they don't become a client there, they could become a client here. After they become a client, if this is a buyer.
Showings
Yeah, so once they become a client, we typically show houses to them.
and under contract.
Well, yeah, and so we write offers.
Oh, offers.
Where is the pre-qualified with the lender?
Oh, yeah, we skipped that, sorry. So
Okay.
client maybe before showings.
Yeah.
Pre-qualified?
Somewhere between conversation and showings, they're gonna get qualified. So I'll just put pre-approved, you know what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna write an offer. Then if an offer is accepted, we call that under contract. What's the next step?
Hand off to Micah.
Yeah, the TC, and I'm gonna put the handoff. Okay, and then there's a couple times where you guys need to come in. Most notably is the inspection. And then after the inspection we'll just say the due diligence and then the financing. So if anything, appraisal. Okay,
Final walkthrough.
the final walk. And then,
Settlement.
what's it called?
Settlement.
Settlement. We had a conversation, settlement versus closing.
Yeah, it's settlement, I know that.
Well, it's hard because sometimes
Most people use
the
closing.
clients won't know, so you have to educate them too.
They never know. Just assume they don't know.
Sometimes I'll just say, when we're signing documents.
So as you can tell, these steps are not like separated by time. I'm just
Yeah.
putting them in order. So after settlement, then we have close,
And hand off keys.
and then we have after that follow up, check in with them, and then we
Reviews.
could go on. We could go on with that. Okay.
There's not enough time to do everything.
Okay, so in terms of customer service, what I'd like to quickly chat about is what is our responsibility. Let me back up, because there was one point that I need to tie in that I've told you guys before, but it's this idea that they did a poll of agents who had very high customer service ratings. I should say they did a poll of the clients of the agents who had a very high customer service rating, and they said, what was it about your agent that you really loved, that made you want to give them such a high rating? And the overwhelming response was
They communicate.
they communicated with me. They told me what was happening. I felt like I was in the loop. I felt so much more comfortable with everything that was happening, even though there were some stressful points. Carol got us through them. You know, we had this one point in the contract, but Carol fought for us. Well, how could they tell that to somebody? Because their agent told them what was happening, told them what they were doing for them. So much so that they were pacified, comforted, encouraged to keep going. So good customer service is good communication. And good communication is both good and bad information.
That's probably key right there.
So good communication is when you're communicating. So what happened? It could be something bad. Hey, all right, so I just talked to the seller. He rejected our counteroffer. You know, so that's the beginning of the conversation. I'm telling you bad news. Does it help if I don't tell you that?
No.
Absolutely not. You're like, what's going on? What's going on? So before that, I need to call you. Hey, I know it's been a day. I've talked to the agent. What did you do for them? I've talked to an agent. Or let me start over. What happened? I know we submitted a counteroffer yesterday to try and get them to pay closing costs. Okay, I know it's been a day. What did I do? I wanted you to know that I've called your agent. I've called the listing agent. I tried to get a status update. And I need to let you know that they're not very excited about that. And he feels like he's already gone down enough on price, so he most likely isn't going to pay our closing costs. So I tried to talk to him about other options, and so I really want to talk to you about, I know we have to get closing costs, but if we could come up on price, they would cover your closing costs and you could still buy this property. But if they stay at this price and they don't pay your closing costs, you don't have enough money for closing costs, so you can't buy this property. Let's talk about this. What are your thoughts? Well, I guess I'd be willing to come up on price for this house. All right. So if I was to work out a counter where they came up on price but paid your closing costs, it's still about $1,000 cheaper with $6,000 in closing costs, but it is something that they would accept from my communication. Would you be willing to take that? Talk about that way you could close on this property, because if you don't accept this at this point, from what I understand of your loan, you won't be able to close. You wouldn't be able to buy this house. How much do you like this house, Mr. Buyer? My wife's really stuck on it, so we need to do that. Okay, let's do it. And then you may need to give affirmations. You know what? We have looked at 20 homes, right? And you said you wanted a 5-bedroom under $300,000 in this location. We know we've looked, and this house by far has the best condition out of all of them, with some of the best location for the price. I really think this is the best deal out of everything we've saw. Would you agree? Do you agree? Why don't we go forward, accept their, I'll communicate this to them, and then they're going to counter us, and we can accept that counter, and you'll be under contract to buy this home.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, so in this example, how do you feel like as I walked you through that process?
Understand it better.
Yeah, I told you your options. I was a guide. I'm just saying, hey, look, don't shoot me. This is what they're telling me. Do you really want the house? Because you have to make a decision. We all have to make decisions, good or bad. But this is the reality. This is what they're coming back to us as. Okay, do you want this house? And we'll just walk through it. If not, another option is I'm more than willing to continue to show you houses. That's future, telling you about what you could do future. So we could either accept this or we could keep looking. I'm more than willing to keep showing you homes. But go back to the past. But what we've seen is we've noticed that all the other homes aren't as good as this one. Like, this really does have the things you wanted. You know, it's got the 5 bedrooms, it's in the location that you told me you wanted, and it's under $300,000. And we can get your closing costs paid for. Yeah, we tried to get a better deal on it, but it didn't work. But we tried. Tell them what you did. We tried. I tried for you, right? That's what I'm telling you. I tried. It just didn't work. So, you know, I'd probably recommend that you accept this. And then you listen and they talk. Okay? But if you talk people through that, their options, every single time you talk to them, what happened, what we're doing, what it's going to happen based off those decisions you make. So if you make this decision, this is what's going to happen. If you make decision B, this is what's going to happen. In every way, if you decide those. So with that framework in mind, we start here. Lead. You get a lead. Now, if this is the Zillow lead, it's like they're asking to
See a property.
They're asking you to show them a property, right? So
Always still have the conversation with them.
what's most important here, probably to gain a client, to get to this is your critical step. To get to your critical step is the service you provide. That means be helpful. And the way you're going to be helpful in this situation is number 2. Demonstrate your knowledge. If you do not know more than them, they will not use you. You have to be more knowledgeable than the person looking at the homes. So, when you guys show a lot of homes, here's the real benefit. Wow, I was just at that house yesterday. And you know what? I, like you, thought it was an awesome house. But what they didn't show you is there behind that house, there was a nuclear power plant, and green slime was right on the other side of that fence, and it was glowing.
Or the train. I had one of those of the train.
Yeah, I was
No
there,
fence.
and I noticed the
Train.
train tracks, and I had put my cup on the counter. I had a soda, and I put my cup on the counter, and it literally rattled and fell over. It was that bad.
Some people don't mind the train.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's which train.
You have to be careful because you might be sounding like.
Yeah.
well, I mean, we're talking an extreme, crazy situation.
Just leave it.
Or you could say, yeah, you know, I noticed it was great. Did you notice that there was also a train track right behind it?
So you don't
Yeah,
necessarily.
I noticed that our last house had it. And we're cool with it.
Yeah, I always try and
Great.
state those things as just factual versus opinion. So I just say, just so you know that there's a train,
Goes by the
because I don't want you to wake up at 3 a.m. after you bought the house and curse my name because you didn't know that.
Or maybe something factual is like, you know, I see that house is at a good deal, but I don't know if you've heard, but that entire street is actually being closed and purchased by the city because the main street there in Spanish Fork is actually going to be widened. And so they're taking over a lot of people's properties. Now, Caleb over there is an excellent loan officer with years of experience. And we could run your scenario by him, and he could give you a quote. Would it be all right if I reached out to Caleb, told him a little bit about what you're looking for, and have him contact you? Yeah, that'd be great. Why did I do it that way? Where Caleb will contact you?
Because you have a better.
Yeah,
Because
people
you know Caleb will call him.
Well, you
you
said-
don't know if he will call Caleb.
Well,
Yeah.
that's part of it, but it also goes back to better service.
Mm-hmm.
If I said, yeah, oh, you know, here, just call it, here's the number. That's one level. If I say, hey, do you mind if I go ahead and make the call for you and make an introduction? That's another level of service. Now, if they say, no, I don't want a second opinion, leave it. Leave it at that. Great. Let's go forward. Do you mind if I get your lender's contact information? Because we're going to be working very closely together on your transaction, on purchasing a home. The loan and the contract go hand in hand, and I need to understand the details of your loan and the timeline that your lender requires so that I don't write a contract that's going to cause a lot of stress. And we don't want stress, do we? No. Okay? So, see how easy that conversation is? It's just talking to people. I'm not selling them, although I'm pretty good at selling them.
Yeah, you are.
I can just talk to people and they don't feel any agenda because ultimately my real goal is to serve them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I chose the lender we have, because he is pretty good. Okay?
He pulled off a few miracles this week for me, so I'm like, thank
Dude.
you.
Well, because we all know
He's
beyond.
actually doing better.
He's been doing
Is
great
he done
for
with
me.
baseball or whatever?
Oh,
No, he wasn't in it for a while. It was.
baseball.
That was like
That's his spring.
Spring
April, May
Oh, okay.
time.
Well, yeah, he's doing great.
So, talking them through every step, telling them their options, telling them why they would need a second opinion. Okay?
Yeah.
Under contract. We could go through that. I wanna summarize a few things. One is some of the ways Zillow, what Zillow does is actually really good. How do you know you're doing well? How do you know that you have great service? We said they tell us. But what if they don't tell us? What do you have to do? You got to ask. You got to ask them, how are we doing? So there's a few things that I'd like to implement over the next month or two. And one of these things is a survey.
Or not.
that perhaps on some of these major events, like once they become a client, once they're under contract, due diligence, financing, we just email them a survey. How are we doing so far? You know, what can we do better? Especially here. Instead of asking them for a close, send them a survey and say, you know, we send them a survey and say, how can we do better? How could we have served you better? Would you?
Will you recommend this to someone?
Well, yeah, and even.
That's why they always say that. We recommend this.
Well,
product.
again, that's awesome, because what I was leading into is if they survey us and it's all roses and perfume, it's
Then we
and one of the survey questions is, would you know, out of 5, what would you recommend us? 1 out of 5, you know, 5 being likely, 1 being not at all.
And within that
And
And
survey,
if they say
also-
5 on that, then send requests to review us to those people instead of just blanketing everybody with a review.
it'll just do a pop-up.
Because the pissed off
you could
people
also
give us
put in there,
reviews.
if he says, will you recommend us to someone else, and say yes, and then you could, another thing could come up that says, do you have a couple people in mind who are looking to buy a house?
Yeah. They can just list
Name
them.
and phone number.
Mhm.
And they could just fill it in.
Exactly. So these kind of things
Yeah, you have to.
are going to make us better. And also be training opportunities. So like, what would you do if you were the broker? I got my last 3 clients have all surveyed me and they all gave me 3 stars. I'm a solid 3-star agent. Does that represent this 5-star brand?
Or those commercials. I'm okay.
I'm okay. Yeah.
How are those brakes? Oh, they're
How's
okay.
your doctor? Yeah, he's okay. Okay, so the survey is the honest. We're trying to get an honest feedback to that, and that's one thing. I don't know how much we can automate it. I'm looking into a few different systems of how it would work, but I think for the most part we may have to just send them a little email, whether it's a Google form or some other sort of sheet.
What about like that? Are you going to use a similar format to like the listing questionnaire that you had done? I can't remember.
On
which.
Google.
Yeah,
Format
something like
would
that.
do.
It could be something like that. And you know, we know a certain amount are not going to respond. Even Zillow says that, I don't know, like 1 out of 3 actually
I
fill
get
it
them all
out.
the time from title, and half the time I just.
You raise them.
But-
I did.
But here's the thing: the real happy people will fill it out. The real sad people will fill it out. But we need to really take into consideration when someone's mad at us.
Yeah.
Like, we need to stop taking it personal and just say, no, honestly, did we make a mistake? Or, you know, it's easy to say this guy's a jerk, but it's harder to say, you know what, I did
Maybe I
kind
could've
of mess up on that. You know, I'm not saying to put that in an email, but
No, but I think the sooner that you stop, recognize it, and apologize, the better.
yeah, maybe they rated me as a 3-star agent because I'm doing something, or maybe it's not what I'm doing, it's what I'm omitting from my service. Maybe they're just upset because they don't know what's going on until like 2 hours before the deadline. Then I call them, and they're like, "Oh, David created a lot of stress because he'd always call us like right before the deadline and tell us what's up."
The deadline is at 5. Hurry. Sign it quick. Sign it right now.
Okay. So in closing, I'd like to do several different trainings on this idea of customer service and this industrialization of the real estate transaction. And what we need to do as a team is to learn how to be more efficient and also learn how to create the same experience, whether it's with Gabby, with Carol, or with David, that you would be comfortable handing off a client to anybody in this office. That I'd be like, I'm gonna have this, you know, if it's Spanish, obviously it's going to Gabby. If it's English, obviously it's going to me. No.
If it's Portuguese, it's going to be.
Yeah. So
Obrigado.
we want to. Another word for industrialization of a transaction is called systems. Systems are
Procedures.
checklists and procedures of how to do something. Okay, and part of that I'm going to work with Micah. But what we want to do in another training is probably, honestly, it ends up probably taking 2 hours to go through step by step by step the real estate transaction and saying, okay, in step 3, who does this email? Oh, there's an email? Yes, we're going to be sending out an email. Who does that? Okay, Micah's going to send out that email. She's going to attach you on it, and what does that do for you? That's a trigger for me to call my client. Like, so certain emails are what we call triggers. She's not saying call your client, but when you see that email, it means call your client. Explain that they got an email. This is what it says. This is what it means.
Yeah, because I find myself calling Micah all the time, saying, Micah, do I need to do this? Are you doing this? I'm not sure who does that, who does what.
So
I feel like if we just almost print out that list in dot loop, and then we just have it, and then we just know who's doing what.
So I basically just send everything
Well,
to
that
Micah.
checklist is basically for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they need to know. Like what I'm saying is they need to know what you're doing, and when
That'll
they
just help
need
us
to get
understand.
involved in it.
Right.
So, and
I don't even send
So I don't
emails
do-
at the beginning because I'm not even sure if I'm sending it, because I know that Kristen used to send an email with all the dates that's going to happen and what's going to happen. So I
So
don't know if I
welcome.
should send it, or are you sending it? I'm not sending anything.
okay, so she's going to send it, but you need to follow up with it.
Right. Like
She
the only
doesn't-
thing I do is like,
she's-
congratulations, you're on the contract. Micah will be contacting you.
Micah's not an agent, so she's not going to be calling your client and negotiating for you.
Right.
She's not going to be explaining. She can't even explain things. She can't explain like, oh, this is what the due diligence checklist means. She's not allowed to do that. So that's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll take care of the paperwork for you. She'll assist you in anything you need. But you're still gonna,
We're still overseeing it.
if transaction management takes 15 hours a deal, you're gonna do 3 still, but she'll do your 12.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry if I call you something.
So this first meeting that we're talking about isn't just going to be me telling you exactly what it is. We're going to kind of lay it out, and then as a discussion, we're going to say, okay, this is what we'd like to see happen. You guys do this all the time. Give me your input. How can we make this experience better? Maybe you're doing something that we didn't know that is wowing your clients. Maybe you're saying something that is really effective. So nobody's gonna come up with a perfect plan solo. We
I
have
think
to.
everybody's different too. Every client is different.
But that way we can talk about it and pull all our best ideas and
Yeah.
put it into one policy procedure
So-
that we all follow to get the best results.
But if we know that, maybe we can. In the very beginning, your code word is like, Micah. This client needs a lot of communication.
Code word needy.
Yeah. Code
I
word
know
is
that.
code word is needy. We sometimes call them high needs.
High maintenance.
We also call those people. I'm so frustrated with them. Why?
Put it in the
Because
email.
they want to know every single thing, and when you tell it to them, you have to tell it to them 3 different times from 4 different angles, and it's just crazy.
Well, their
Like
first
this
time
guy,
homebuyer.
like this guy by the backup offer. This
Oh,
one,
yeah, yeah.
oh my goodness, he called me. He's like, okay, let's review every single page of this 10-page contract that I sent, because I sent the exclusive, buyer
Yeah.
broker, and the
Yeah.
addendum, and the other addendum, and then the rep sheet. We went through every single page, and at the end, he said, okay, well, let's go set up another appointment to see what the inclusions are. Okay.
You're like,
Okay.
I'm definitely earning my money on this one.
So let's recap. We've gone over. We talked about service is what defines us as a brokerage. There are cheap services out there, and if we want to charge a premium, or not even a premium, if we want to charge a normal rate nowadays,
have
we
to
need to
provide
provide
a premium
a
service.
premium service. So what our value is that, look, we may charge the normal rate, but our service is off the charts. Go look on Facebook, it's there. I can recommend you to any of my clients. And so that way, it's like saying, hey, I know this Mercedes is the price of an average car, but it's really not an average car. It's an
Mercedes.
AMG model. It's the really fast one. That's cool.
But it is hard because, you have the clients who are saying, they're calling up the Four Seasons and saying, why aren't you charging the same price as the Motel 6 down the road? And you're like, have you not seen the Four Seasons? Like, have you not seen the Marriott? Like, let me help you walk through and then you decide.
Yeah. Have you walked into a Waldorf Astoria? You're like,
How can they compare, right?
Yeah.
oh,
You
it smells
just-
so
you
good in
can't-
here. I could just breathe it in.
Well, and then you get into the whole conversation. It's like, well, is what's most important to you? Finding the cheapest agent or netting the most money?
Okay. Yeah, so let's accept the fact that 20% of the people will not work with us.
I know. And you
Okay.
don't want
And
to
that's
work with
okay,
them
because
either.
you don't
And
wanna
and exactly, you don't want to work with them because it's always going to be, they don't appreciate what you do because
No.
they're so cheap. It's always about price. You know what? Go shop at wherever, you know.
Actually, I can give you a referral of somebody who won't do anything for you.
There are plenty of people. There are plenty of people out there like my wife. She will shop at Target, knowing full well that it's 10% more than Walmart
Yeah.
because it's Target.
Yeah.
She hates going into Walmart.
I hate
You know
going
the
to Walmart
the
too.
Walmart people.
I just feel like the
Wow.
colors of Walmart, the inside of the store is
They're
just
getting
not
better.
appealing.
I mean, everybody shops at Walmart, but there is
School
a
supply
different
station.
there is a different experience. You wait longer in lines. It's totally different. But the point is
We
you don't
present.
fight that. You know who you are, present who you are, you educate them. And the fact is you're going to work with the majority of people you walk in front of. If you're able to articulate the service and the value you provide and demonstrate your knowledge, the more you can demonstrate that right off the bat, it's going to create, they're going to have more confidence in you, which goes to trust. And it's all about the follow through on that. That's why we always say, what's in the follow through? The money, baby, is in the follow through. Money is not in getting more leads. Money is in this.
I kind of feel that way now. I feel like I'm doing better now that I have less leads because I'm following up better.